Hello everyone, we hope you're doing absolutely brilliantly. Today we're going to be walking through something really important if you're practicing for your English exam. We know it can be really scary, so we're here to support you with our resources. So don't worry. And if you do need that extra support, you can always choose to enroll in our classes through this link over here. Here you can see a lot of information and you can choose to contact us, or you can connect with us for free through this video and tag along. By the end of this video, we want you to feel much more comfy and confident about what to expect from the exam and how to prepare for it. But we know you will do amazingly, so let's get started. Alrighty, so first things first, we're going to start by looking at the LanguageCert website, where you can see a lot of practice materials. You can access everything you need from this link over here. Now, once you open the website, you can navigate to the practice exams as they're organized per your English level, and you can choose what you would like to practice specifically. Today, we're going to be practicing the practice paper 7. You can choose to download any of the practice papers, but we're going to be focusing on this portion of the exam, listening, reading, and writing paper 7 for level B2, which you can download here and follow along. You can always choose to as well practice from any other of the levels or any other of the papers, and you can watch this video regardless to get you more comfy with the general structure of the exam, but this is the specific exam that we're going to be looking at. Once you have everything ready and downloaded, you're going to find it over here in your downloads folder. Alrighty. And now you can see that there are several files that you will find here. There's a portion that's for audios, a sample test, one that would be for your tester to read aloud, and all the answers to the test portions. But don't worry about them. You can just start by opening the test exam, since I will be reading aloud the other parts. And now that you have everything ready, let me make this bigger here for you. You might be wondering, what is or how is the B2 Communicator exam structured? So let's start by understanding that. The Communicator B2 exam and all the other exams are separated by listening, reading, and writing. The listening is 30 minutes and the rest is 2 hours and 10. And at this level, what is expected from you is to understand detailed spoken English, read longer text, and identify key information from such, and be able to write clear and organized responses. So now we're going to start by breaking it down part by part. First, our listening section. In listening part 1, you're going to be hearing a bunch of short conversations. Each will be repeated twice. Your job is to choose the correct response, and we know you can do this. Make sure to always listen for the tone, to be able to identify the situation, and focus on the intention behind what is being said. For example, for this portion of the exam, listen closely as I read the scenario to you between two people. Excuse me, I'm looking for Mr. Thompson. Oh, he's out of town on business today, I'm afraid, sir. How's that possible? I have an appointment. You need to choose the most logical response based on that context and tone. What do you think it could be? Choose your answer on the test sheet. So the correct answer would be C. I'm sorry, sir. It was an emergency. Looking at the seeming formal context, setting, and behavior. In this situation, you can also imagine that this person would be responding to another person complaining about the delay in the appointments. So he would also be apologetic and respond in a way that is formal and concise. So, I'm sorry, sir, it was an emergency would be the most correct answer. You don't need to overthink it because the correct answer is usually what feels natural in a conversation. The second listening portion over here integrates longer conversations. So here things get a little bit more detailed. You'll hear full conversations, whether that be in a school, in a doctor's office, or even a shop. Therefore, you need to understand what is the relationship between the speakers, why someone did something, and what will happen next. So here we can see in conversation 1 of this exam's second listening portion, when the person says, "I didn't submit my article because I had to study for a test." The key information is the reason. Focus on why, not just what. Therefore, the answer here is B. He didn't have enough time to complete it, the article. And the reason was, again, he didn't have time. We look to the next part 3 of the exam over here. Now, in this portion, it's about note-taking. You'll hear someone speaking like a director explaining a summer camp, and you're going to focus on writing 1 to 5 words, clear and accurate, spelled correctly, based on the situation and conversation that you're hearing. So, an example types of answer looking to our exam would be sailing and hockey for 2 new activities are 7 to 14 for the second part, which is the courses are for students aged between, and Linda believes the best accommodation or best type of accommodation is a double room. So the key strategy here is to be very concise. It's to listen the first time for this general understanding and the second time for exact wording. Make sure to be spelling things correctly because you'll also be graded on that. Now moving to listening part 4, this is about an extended conversation where you have a longer dialogue. Here you must be able to understand different opinions, catch those subtle details, and follow along this type of discussion. For example, in this exam, there's a part that details in the listening, "Wow, you're so good at this. How about we check the internet and make some notes about the city in general, and I can go to the library after school and see if I can find any other resources there to draw some information from." They respond, "Like what?" And someone else responds, "Well, I don't know, some books with some older photos of the same area in the past years." Another person responds, "Yes, that's great. I think the teacher will appreciate some background information, even though she did say it is optional." Now we look to our options in part 4, which is what we're going to look through. Why does Jane suggest going to the library? The teacher required historical information. The resources will be more reliable. The project will make a better impression. We see that she explains the teacher will appreciate some background information, but it is explained that it is not required. Therefore, the option is C. We understand that because of the context, that it's something that they want to have a good impression on the teacher rather than it being something that is required. And that's the sample clue to listen for. Now for our reading section in this exam. This section tests understanding main ideas, identifying specific information, and completing text logically. Here we can see the first part of reading involves a long text followed by multiple choice questions. Here is the long text, and here are the multiple choice questions. You're going to read an article, and the main goal is to identify what the reader suggests to you, understand its purpose, and recognize supporting evidence. Looking at the exam here, we can see the first paragraph says, surveys show that most young adults believe that obtaining wealth and fame are keys to a happy life, but a long-running study out of a leading university suggests that one of the most important signs of whether you age well and live a long, happy life is not the amount of money you have or fame you receive. When we look at the question over here, what do many young people consider important in life? Remember, young people. You might think it's something else rather than the actual answer. To be rich, which is C. We can see that in the text, it explains what young people value over what the university study explores. In reading part 2, it acts as gapped text, so you'll have to complete it about someone like Nikola Tesla here. This part is about understanding the logic between paragraphs, identifying key linking words, and matching ideas smoothly. What you can look for help is the contrast between the sentences. Is there a sort of however or on the other hand type of gap happening? Is there an example that's being introduced, or is it rather a cause and effect? In the exam, we can see the next sentence here introduces a comparison with Thomas Edison and other famous names, so the answer must logically connect, as the previous sentence introduces the idea of Nikola Tesla. So we know that it must flow into that. Therefore, we consider option F. More than any other inventor, he made the age of electric power possible to connect between the two sentences. Now for the next reading portion, reading part 3. This is about matching texts. You'll read 4 different texts and match them to a series of questions. For example, which text explains how something is made? We can see the correlating text would actually be B, which describes thoroughly the process of making crisps. The key here is to read the questions carefully, highlight those keywords, and then scan each text and match between them. Alrighty, moving on to the last part of reading part 4. This task is to concisely answer questions based on the text. For example, here we can see. Now this part requires us to be very, very concise, as we have to write a maximum of 5 words, and therefore you have to be very precise with your answers. For example, in the first question, how long did it take Sanderson to decide what the objects were? The answer to this is very, very specific. It's explained clearly that it's 15 years later. One was given to biologist Ivan Sanderson for analysis after thorough examination that lasted a month and several discussions. But the correct answer only requires a very concise 1 month. Therefore, it is absolutely essential to be careful here. If you write more than 5 words, you may lose the mark. Now, the final part of the exam is writing. Let's talk about it. You have 2 written tasks in this part. In writing part 1, the task is to write formally. So this task can be an essay or a formal email or letter or even a report. In this sample exam, you are writing a letter to enter a competition. The main structure for any type of writing is usually an introduction or a type of greeting if it's an email or a letter. Then, of course, that clear introduction, and then 2 or 3 main developed paragraphs and a polite closing. All you need to do is plan ahead of time, keep it structured, keep it organized, relevant, and concise, and try to remember your vocabulary here, as that's always a plus. In writing part 2, you can express yourself way more freely with informal writing, from 150 to 200 words. This second section is only slightly longer than the first, ranging from 50 to 100 words more. But don't worry, in this part you're given a situation or a topic and asked to write a descriptive essay about people or events or traditions, an article, a magazine, or even an informal letter. In this exam, for example, you're writing to a friend about a healthy habit. In this informal writing, of course, you can show your personality, be more informal, but always make sure to stay clear and structured. Our final advice to you is, preparation is not about doing 20 practice papers, so just make sure to understand from your mistakes, reflect on that, learn the patterns and structures of the exam, and be patient, improving step by step. With the LanguageCert website, you can, of course, download more practice papers. Here it is again. Work through it calmly, review the mark scheme, check the listening script, and repeat. We know you can smash this exam, so just be smart, confident, and consistent with your practice. We know you can do it, and we're here to support you. So if you do need that extra help, you can, of course, enroll in our classes here. And for other sections and English levels, we're going to be breaking down in detail in upcoming videos. So we'll see you in the next one.